what is the dollar truly backed by? So there's many people that will say that it's the full faith and credit of the United States. It's the aircraft carriers that the United States have. It's the oil. I've always argued that none of that's really the case. The true case is it's backed by the bond market. It's backed by bondage, backed by the slave trade, which is your slavery. It is you guaranteeing yourself you'll be taxed in the future, you, your kids, your grandkids, by the Federal Reserve buying bonds, and other countries buying bonds, and you yourself in your, most people have no idea in their 401ks, their pensions, their endowments, buying bonds hand over fist, the safe asset, and because it's backed up by the full faith and credit of the United States, which is worth absolutely zero, as we have seen. And people continue to say, well, they can just print more currency to pay me off. Yeah, but if we're getting paid off in dollars that are worthless, they're just pieces of paper, and now your eggs went from 30 cents a carton to $3 to $30 a carton, what does getting that same amount matter when you're just losing? You can't even keep up with inflation at the end of the day because they're printing the currency to pay you off. This is the whole dichotomy that the human brain just has such a hard time understanding. So it's the slave trade, it's the bondage market, the bond market that really backs the dollar. The petrodollar, though, is what we really want to kind of mention, though, here today, which is why didn't the world go to war in 1971 when Nixon took the United States, the dollar off the gold standard? And it's, no one really truly knows why the world didn't go into a world war at that time. Charles de Gaulle, the president of France, was, calling the note due, the gold due, basically for I believe a decade, for a while, or during the 1960s, and then so gold started getting repatriated, and Nixon had to take us. It's not like Nixon was the architect of this whole thing. Nixon was the guy in charge at the time when the thing was falling apart and things had to be done in order to not let the system completely collapse, the entire global economy collapse. Now, Henry Kissinger, who was one of the Klaus Schwab's biggest mentors, the World Economic Forum fame that we've talked about here a million times, Dr. Evil himself, and one of many figureheads that, and most we don't know about, right? Klaus is like the guy they put out there to be the figurehead, like, to distract everyone, like, hey, here's what's going on over here, look at Klaus, look at Dr. Evil. But there are so many organizations hidden beneath the surface that are running things that most of us have no idea. I still don't know 90% of them, and the people that run these organizations. So Klaus is one of many people. So, when people get caught up in the Klaus thing, but it's, that's neither here nor there. We'll talk about that in a different video. But Henry Kissinger was the architect, apparently, right? So they say. Henry Kissinger was the architect that negotiated the deal with the Saudis that gave us the petrodollar standard. And basically what happened, long story short, is the Saudis are selling oil all across the world, right? The biggest player in the oil market. And what Henry Kissinger did in the United States said is, in order for us to keep the dollar reserve currency and for everyone to be using dollars, right, we needed to do something drastic instead of the world going out to war and saying, oh, I'm out of here, I'm using another currency, I'm using gold or something like that. So what they did was strike this deal. It said the Saudis had to sell their oil production, they had to sell it off to other people only in dollars. And the Saudis made that deal because they wanted protection. So the United States offered up their aircraft carriers. They offered up the military and said, we will protect you if you sell your oil, your commodities, your thing of actual value for our worthless pieces of paper. Because otherwise, no one's going to have any confidence. We just took the world off the gold standard, the dollar off the gold standard, so they're going to run away from this, and the dollar collapses, in essence. Very long story short, right? They're running out of treasuries, interest rates go through the roof, things of that nature, right? So that's the moral of the story. But the biggest part of this is the network effect. And this is where, again, we talk about Bitcoin a lot, right? So this is kind of some of the negatives and things that have gone on, and the fiat disease we've had really ramped up over the last 52 years. We just had the anniversary, August 15th, 1971. We just had this anniversary last week. And the anniversary of this just, again, makes me think of this every year and why this is so important and what this actually meant, what this actually means. And the Saudis, this was a deal they struck to help themselves, right? America's trying to help themselves to keep the dollar as that world reserve currency, as the king, and it happened, and it worked. Somehow worked. And this the network effect, though, like we said with Bitcoin, is that when more and more people use your network, it grows stronger, right? If one telephone in the world existed, it wouldn't be that good of a technology, because who are you going to call? What are you going to do? If 2 telephones in the world existed, still not going to be that strong. If 10, if 100, if 1,000, right? And you can see where I'm getting that the more people that are on your network, the more you can transact, the more businesses that are using Bitcoin, the more businesses that are using the dollar, the stronger it is. And this is where one of the biggest faults that America made was kicking Russia off the SWIFT system, right? This put people on high alert. We have now, right now, going on the BRICS meeting with all these countries saying, wow, the Americans just took, basically everyone's on high alert because we just kicked SWIFT off the SWIFT system and froze their dollar assets. Dollar liabilities. Truly, if you pay attention to this channel, you know that dollars are actually a liability on your balance sheet, not an asset, because they lose value over time. So that's why savers are losers. However, most people still think they're assets, unfortunately. But this is the huge shift. This is where the things are shifting, right? This is where the iceberg is about to flip in the coming months, the coming years, where it's speeding up, right? It's not going to be like 10, 20 years from now. It's going to be in the next year, next couple of years, or sooner than later. This is going to happen in our lifetimes, where this iceberg flips and the dollar doesn't have the power that it used to. And the only reason it had that power still is because everyone in the world was forced to go find currency at the time, dollars, to buy oil from the Saudis, to buy energy, basically. Just like now, if you were forced to use Bitcoin, and everywhere, right, you had to use Bitcoin, guess where the fiat price of Bitcoin would go, or the purchasing power of Bitcoin would go to the absolute, not moon, it would go to Pluto. It would go to, whatever, star, galaxy you can think of. That's where the value of the purchasing power of Bitcoin would go, because everyone would be jamming themselves into this inelastic commodity, right? So there's only 21 million that will ever be of Bitcoin, and every single person in the world will have to be fit into that little life raft. So that's going to have to keep ballooning and ballooning and ballooning. The network keeps getting bigger and bigger. The value of it, the purchasing power grows and grows and grows. And as more people are born and add themselves to the Bitcoin network, as more art is sold, real estate, cars, on and on and on, and it is sold and put into that Bitcoin network over and over and over every day, now you can see what's going to happen to Bitcoin. You can clearly start to delineate what's actually going to happen. And that's why the dollar is being held together by duct tape and backroom deals and shenanigans and financial derivatives and mass destruction and on and on and on, right? You can see one system, the fiat system, the dollar reserve currency, is being held by duct tape and glue and super glue and Gorilla Tape, and it's coming apart. It's unraveling, it's bursting at the seams, where the Bitcoin network is the strongest super computing structure to ever exist in human nature, and we have it there, running, decentralized, uncensorable, immutable, can't be touched, for everyone who has an internet connection. Everyone in the world can opt in. It's permissionless, trustless. Don't have to trust what's going on. You don't have to have permission from someone to transact or sell or buy or anything. Nothing. That's where you can clearly see, if humans are given 2 options, what option do you think they're going to give? And this is where people that come to you and say, oh, well, the government said they're just going to ban it. That's not how this works. Money is created between people. Goods and services transacting between each other. Government doesn't create money. That's one of the biggest fallacies there is. Money existed before the governments of the world were here. Money will exist well after the governments of the world are gone. So what gives government the right to tell us that they create money, that they create currency? They don't. They can only create currency. Money has to be a store of value, which is the biggest thing, a unit of account and exchange, right? Store of value is the biggest one. Fiat currencies don't have that. So all that said, all that together, now we have a clear picture of what's actually happening when a human being can actually choose and see clearly what's going on, not be gaslit, not have FUD, fear, uncertainty, doubt sprayed in their face, propaganda about telling you what Bitcoin is or isn't. And humans can actually see it at work, see what's actually happening, see the benefits of it going day in, day out over time. What do you think they're going to choose? This crumbling system built together and held together by duct tape and lies and schemes and negotiations, backroom deals, or this literally thermodynamically sound, perfect, encapsulated computer network that's working over here seamlessly, where no one has to be in charge and no one has to be asked what to do? There's rules and not rulers. What do you think people are going to choose? That's my question to you. That's my question. So hopefully that explained numerous things. I might take this video actually and break it into numerous pieces. We talked about a lot of different things actually in this video. Let me know what you think actually about the different parts of this video and what you would like to see broken down, because I really might piece this out actually and make some separate videos about this. So I appreciate you coming to my TED Talk. Please share this out. This is literally, this 10 minutes is like the most important thing going on in the world. This is macroeconomics, everything summed up. This is money. What is money? It's a container, right? A container for your energy and time. That's it. Does your fiat currency have a hole in it with inflation, or does it perfectly sound like Bitcoin and hold your monetary time and energy they're storing in it and grow over time? Again, when humans are tasked with that decision, what are they going to do over time as they gain more knowledge on what's actually happening? Answer's pretty clear. Answer's pretty clear. It answers itself. So I appreciate you. Please share this out. The algorithm hates truth, so please share this out. We're the only hope we have to get to the 3%, people that will change the world. Question everything in boldness, even the existence of God himself. Trust but verify. This is not financial advice. It is freedom advice. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one.